Here we go. Hello, hello. I'll pop up Facebook as well. See if we get some folks. Everyone who has responded to the event will get a notification, so we'll be able to know who's on, how many people are on, and people can still access it afterwards. So that's the beauty.
This is my first Facebook Live, which is kind of fun.
Nice.
Me too. Me too.
Very good. This might also be my first Facebook Live. We don't know. We'll give it another minute and then we'll get started. Hello. Hi, Eric. Hi, Ben. Hey, thanks for joining. Oh, Michigan. Welcome from Michigan.
Hello.
That's so cool, Ben.
Isabel.
We're excited to tell you about it, Isabel. Thank you.
All right, we will get started. Welcome to the Kickoff Special Olympics Virginia Town Hall Talk. We are thrilled to welcome you. These town halls are for parents, caregivers, and athletes of Special Olympics Virginia. They were developed in answer to the question, how can Special Olympics invite more conversations about topics of interest within this community? So we invite you in during this time on the last Tuesday of every month as we explore themes around health, fitness, independent living, leadership, and support among people with disabilities and their families. So tonight, we will talk about the benefits that Medicaid waivers provide and how to best access them through Moms in Motion. Anna Thomas will be leading this session and begin with an overview. And after Anna shares, we will hear from a parent testimonial from Katie Barber, who's also a division manager with Moms in Motion. And she will describe the practical ways that she and her family have used the Medicaid waiver to help their family and their daughter, Gracie. We will then proceed into a time of community sharing and Q&A. So at any point throughout this session, you can write your questions in the chat and we will address them at the end. So I will turn it over to Anna now.
All right. Thank you, Casey, and thank you everyone that has joined in. Me and Katie are super excited to share with y'all about Moms in Motion and At Home Your Way. And so that's what I'm going to do now. And so like Casey said, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat while I'm talking. I'll try to answer them best I can, and I will also answer at the end as well. So we are Moms in Motion At Home Your Way. And the reason we have two names is because not only do we serve individuals across the state of Virginia under the age of 18 under Moms in Motion, but also we help individuals that are over the age of 18 under the company At Home Your Way. Our company was created by a mom herself, and she had a disabled child and was looking for resources and stumbled across Virginia Medicaid waivers. And when she did, she realized that it was a great resource. And so she started sharing her knowledge with others in her community. This quickly grew to her sharing it with over 300 people straight from her kitchen table. And that's when she realized she needed to start an organization. And so that's what she did. And she started with Moms in Motion. And so, Casey, you can go ahead and change my page for me. So, what we like to think of ourselves as is a one-stop shop for families. We like to think of ourselves as that admin team behind the scenes that help the families that we serve across the state of Virginia to navigate the resources in the Virginia Medicaid waivers. Not only do we help them once they obtain a waiver, but then before they even get on the waiver services, we're going to help them through the process of navigating applying and getting approved for a waiver as well. So we are that admin team behind the scenes that the families don't have to pay for. The families that we serve never receive a bill from Moms in Motion or At Home Your Way. So there's a couple different waiver types in the Commonwealth. The first one being the developmental disability waiver, and you'll oftentimes hear that one called the DD waiver. Now that waiver, the individual that applies for it needs to have the diagnosis of a developmental disability or delay by the age of 22. There's also a wait list for that waiver. It's kind of that gold standard, provides the most resources for the family and the individual. And so there's only so many slots in the state of Virginia at a time where we can give out those waivers to families. And so some families may wait 9 years for their family member to get that waiver, and some may wait 9 months. And the reason for that is because it's prioritized by need. So the families that need the services the most will move towards the top of the wait list, while if you don't need it quite as much as some, you may be towards the bottom of the wait list. But never fear, there's other waivers out there as well. And so we'll help the family to see if there's another option while they're waiting on the wait list for the DD waiver. So the other waiver that we help with is called the Commonwealth Coordinated Care Plus waiver. And you'll oftentimes hear that one called the CCC Plus waiver. Now for this waiver, it has a little more criteria because there is no wait list for that waiver. So for this waiver, it can be any disability or developmental disability or delay, and it also covers the elderly as well. So it could be that the individual is a senior in your community, and then they have to meet the additional criteria. So they have to need assistance with at least 2 daily living activities like mobility or bathing, and then they also need to have a medical nursing need. So if they fall under those criteria, then they can qualify for and apply for the CCC Plus waiver and receive benefits under that waiver. Now, the great thing about those two waivers are that they are only based on the individual with the diagnosis of that disability's income level. So when we think of traditional Medicaid, we think of the family needing to qualify based on everyone together that's in their household. But that's not the case with these waivers. So if it's a child that's needing services through the CCC Plus waiver or the DD waiver, unless you're a TikTok celebrity or an Instagram sensation, then more than likely you don't have an income coming in. And so it's going to qualify you based on your need, and we're not having to look at that income of the whole family because it's only for that individual. Same situation with an elderly parent or an adult that needs a waiver. It's only going to look at that individual's income. Now, those are the two waivers that we help with, but we also help with another program too, and that is the EPSDT program. That's the Early Periodic Screening and Diagnostic Treatment Program. Now, for this program, it doesn't go under the same Medicaid guidelines for the income levels as the waivers. For that program, the individual does need to be under the age of 21 and does have to qualify for traditional straight Medicaid to qualify for that program. But they can qualify for it if they are needing assistance with their activities of daily living due to maybe behavioral issues. So what I've seen is that a lot of families, if they have an individual in their family that has been diagnosed with maybe autism or ADHD, then they can receive services through the EPSDT program and get a lot of the same supports that are provided through the waiver as well. Now, what we feel like sets us apart and why we want families to call us is because we're going to help you through the screening and application process. That process can be very tedious and very confusing, and sometimes you'll want to give up because there's so much information coming at you. But we're going to do what we call waiver screening coaching, and that's individualized to the families that we serve. So when you call in for your first phone call to Moms in Motion, you're going to be greeted by a family resource specialist. They're going to take into consideration that individual family's needs and that person that they're helping to see what it is that they have going on and see if they would qualify for these services. So they're going to do what's called waiver screening coaching with them. And by waiver screening coaching, I don't mean that we're going to tell you what to say when you do your waiver screening. It means that we're going to help you understand what questions are going to be asked when you go through a screening so that you're not overwhelmed. And so when the screener comes out, you don't feel uncomfortable with giving them those tough answers of what reality is really like for that individual that's needing the services. So maybe Johnny, who's 16, mom might be going through a waiver screening for him, and she might be asked the question, does Johnny take a shower on his own? Well, of course, as parents and moms, we all want to say the great things about our child or our loved one. Same with an elderly parent that maybe you're taking care of. And so when they're asked that question, do they take a shower on their own? Of course, we want to say, yeah, they take a shower on their own, but we might fail to mention that we help them to make sure the water temperature is the correct temperature because we don't want them to scald themselves, or that we sit on the toilet while they're in the shower to make sure that they know, hey, now it's time to wash your body, or it's important to wash your hair while you're in there. And then we make sure that there's a towel on the floor so they don't slip when they get out. Those are all things that we might fail to mention unless someone tells us that's important to tell that screener. And so we're going to help them through that process so that they know it's important to say what your life is actually like and how you actually help that person with their activities of daily living so that they can get the resources that they require and that they deserve. It's only a disservice to the individual with the disability not to actually say what they're going through and what they need assistance with so that they can get those much needed resources. Now, we know that it can be overwhelming. Maybe your family just received the diagnosis of a disability to one of your loved ones. And my family had the exact same thing happen to them. My father-in-law was diagnosed with ALS, and this was before the Ice Bucket Challenge. No one knew what ALS was. We didn't know. And I got the call while I was at work. I worked in the medical field, and I didn't know anything about ALS. So we didn't know where to turn to for resources. We didn't know how fast his disease was going to progress or the things that he was going to need assistance with. I wish then that we would have known about Moms in Motion so we could have called and we could have got these resources for him. But unfortunately, we didn't. And so he's since passed on. But while he lived, we helped him to make him as comfortable as possible, and we were able to keep him at home. But it would have been a great resource to be able to have provided services that I'm going to talk about that are included in the waiver for him while he was at home. Now, right now, our company is actually servicing over 10,000 families across the state of Virginia just since our beginning in 2009. We're one of the largest service facilitation companies in the Commonwealth, and we have over 150 staff members from various backgrounds. We did recently just get BBB accredited, so we're pretty proud of that too, because that means that the community likes what they see when they call us and they like the services that they're receiving. Now, we're not only going to help with that waiver screening coaching, but we're also going to help once you're on a waiver. So once your family member or loved one is on a waiver, then we're going to help you with service facilitation and receiving the authorizations needed to receive the services and resources that are provided in the waiver. So we know there's tons of resources out there, and that's why we specialize in this so that we can tell you, hey, your family member, maybe they have been diagnosed with ALS and maybe they would benefit from a speech device. Well, that speech device can be covered underneath your insurance, but you wouldn't have known that if we weren't there to help you. And that's what the service facilitator is going to help you to understand, is that there are these resources out there and we can try to get them covered for you by the insurance company. Now, our service facilitators are matched up with every person at intake. So they're going to receive a service facilitator that's going to stick with them through the process, hopefully for the whole process that they're on with Moms in Motion or At Home Your Way. They're going to have that one person that kind of becomes part of their family. I talked to a service facilitator a few months ago, and she said when she does her intake, she tells them, "Welcome to the family. Not only are you one of my clients now, but I'm going to treat your family member as if they were my family member as well," because she has family members that are on the waiver as well. And she understands the impact that it made on her life. And now she wants to make those impacts in that family's life as well. Our service facilitators have to be scholastically accredited, so they have to have a college degree. And then they also have to undergo rigorous trainings and background checks to make sure that they go through person-centered training and they can remove any bias or stereotyping from serving the families that we serve. We want to treat everyone the same and make sure that everyone's receiving benefits in the way that we would want our family members to receive them. So not only do they go through that person-centered training, but we also make sure that they are CPS and APS trained as well. They have to go through continuing education. They're going to help you and understand the process of hiring an employer of record that's going to help to make sure that the care attendant that's covered underneath the waiver gets paid. And then they're going to help you to hire a care attendant as well. Maybe you don't have a family member that can be your care attendant, and so you need to run a Facebook ad. That's something that we can talk you through, running that ad and understanding, hey, maybe I should reach out to the college. Maybe there's nursing students that are looking for hours where they would like to serve in my family's, with my family's need and help that individual in my family. There's lots of resources that we can connect you with, and the service facilitator will be there to help you with that. Now, this is my favorite part to talk about, and that's what resources are provided to the families once they're approved for a waiver. So not only can this waiver be added on if you already have private insurance, but it can also be standalone as well. So maybe the family just doesn't have insurance. And so they're going to receive benefits for medications, therapies, doctor's appointments that maybe weren't covered before, even if they did have private insurance. Then they're going to have access to incontinence supplies, other medical supplies, mileage reimbursement to make sure you go to those much needed appointments. I live in the Shenandoah Valley, and a lot of people in my area need to go to UVA for doctor's appointments. And that can be a 45-minute drive for some families. And I know that that's quite a financial burden whenever you have to go to appointments weekly or maybe twice a week. And so there's mileage reimbursement built into the waiver so that the family members can apply for that, so that the paid caretaker can be approved to get their mileage reimbursed to take that individual to their doctor's appointments so that you're getting the health care that you deserve and that you require. And then there's also a program called the Health Insurance Premium Payment Program, oftentimes referred to as HIP. And that can help reimburse the family for the portion that was coming out of their pocket for private insurance. So maybe dad or mom work as a nurse at UVA. And so each month there's a premium that comes out of their paycheck to pay for the family's health insurance. Well, with the program HIP, they can apply to receive a portion of that paid back to them, back into their pocket, which can be a great financial impact. Not only the portion that was paying for that individual that's now on the waiver, but for the whole family's premium as well. Now, those are some of the great benefits, but then there's a very big benefit that goes very much unused every year. And I'm going to show you a little bit about that on my next slide. And that is the environmental modification allowance and the assistive technology allowance. And so each year, individuals on the waiver are going to have an allowance of $5,000 that they can apply for and be approved for environmental modifications of their home, like ramps or grab bars, vehicle modifications, bath chair lifts. Like I said, my father-in-law was diagnosed with ALS, and suddenly he needed a wheelchair. Suddenly we needed a ramp built onto our home. Suddenly we needed a wheelchair accessible shower. Those aren't things that you automatically just had, or that everyone just has money in their bank ready to be able to build that on at any time. And so having that allowed to be, applied for through your insurance and be covered, it can be a great financial blessing to families. And then also assistive technology, $5,000 a year also towards that. And so that can be adaptive utensils, noise canceling headphones. Maybe you live in an apartment complex. I used to work in an apartment complex, and I know one of the most huge complaints is that the noises from other people's apartments are so loud at certain times, and it can be traumatizing to maybe a child that is on the spectrum, and maybe noise triggers them. And so something like noise canceling headphones can be a great resource to that family for them to be able to have for that individual. And then also things like GPS support or bed alarms. If your family member, maybe they don't stay in the bed at night and they need to so they can stay safe, maybe you need a bed alarm on the bed so that you know whenever they're getting out of the bed. And so these can be great devices and modifications that we can help you to work with the MCO to get approved for that individual. And so what we ask is that maybe these services aren't something that you need for yourself or for your loved one, but maybe you know someone else in the community or someone else that's in the Special Olympics games with you that you feel like, hey, this might be a program that would help them. We just want you to tell them about Moms in Motion. Tell them to go to our website so that they can get more information. We don't even mind if they call us just to see if the waiver is something that might be beneficial to them. So we just want you to send family members, send loved ones so that they can have access to these resources as well. Now, we like to be upfront and honest. The process isn't overnight. So when you call us the first time, we don't want people to expect that the next day they're going to have access to that paid caretaker. The paid caretaker, from that first phone call until that first time that paid caretaker receives their first check for taking care of that individual, it can be about a 6 to 8 week process. And so we like to be upfront and honest about that. And now that I'm talking about the paid caretaker, that's one of the greatest resources that are provided underneath of the waiver. For the individuals on the CCC Plus waiver and the DD waiver, they will be able to receive a special amount of hours that is individualized to that person that's approved for the waiver. And they're going to be able to hire a paid care attendant to take care of that individual. So it can be maybe an elderly parent that maybe an adult child was already taken care of, or maybe mom and dad are having to take care of a child that can't go to typical daycare or typical school. And so that family member can be that paid caretaker for that individual. The pay rate right now is $12.70 an hour for the majority of the state, and then it's a little bit higher in Northern Virginia. And on this page, you'll see our 1-800 number. So that's 1-800-417-0908. And you're welcome to call us during business hours. We have a team of family resource specialists that are waiting for your call. They're waiting to help you and your family to see if these resources would be something beneficial to them. And then we also invite you to check out our website, momsinmotion.net. You can check us out on Facebook to get much needed answers to any questions that you might have as well.
Thank you so much, Anna. That's great information. It is a lot to digest, and incredibly impressive to know that resource is out there and often goes untapped by families and people with disabilities. So we're going to actually now turn it over to Katie Barber, who's going to give us a little bit more of a in depth on the service facilitator's role, as she currently manages service facilitators as well as sits in the position of parent, as her daughter has a disability and she would like to share a little bit from that parent experience to some testimonials. So Katie, I do have the video up, so whenever you want me to play, I can do that.
Well, let's start with that, because that kind of gives us as parents a background of how we used the waiver.
Okay, super.
So this is my Gracie. She is now 11 years old, but when she was born, we were told that she had cerebral palsy and epilepsy, and the list goes on of the things that they told us she would never do, which included sitting independently and walking. Thankfully, she had really good therapists that made the work of therapy fun for her. These therapists also connected us to the Medicaid waivers, and these waivers became a saving grace for me as I tried to figure out how to best help my little girl. Now, waivers have changed a lot in the last 10 years. They've become more accessible, more user-friendly. There are 3 different types of waivers currently: the EPSDT waiver, the CCC Plus waiver, and the CLN-FIS waiver. Each one is tiered towards the needs of those who are on it. Gracie has the CCC Plus waiver, and that allows her to have attendants or a caregiver take her to the activities that she wants to do throughout the week and help her in those activities. Like, she does a special needs dance class, and in that class, her caregiver can be involved and help her as she does it. Gracie's also found out that she loves karate, and she just recently graduated to a red belt, but that's because she has had a caregiver that we have been able to hire through the waiver that has helped her in these classes and activities that Gracie wants to do. These caregivers can also help in the home and do what we call ADL care, the activities of daily living, like bathing and cleaning up and eating, things we take for granted every day, but that somebody like Gracie might need help with. I'm very grateful for the waiver and the community that it has helped us find, because that community helps support Gracie in everything she tries, and it helps her not see those limitations that were given so early in her diagnosis. Thank you for letting me share tonight about our experience with the waiver. It has been a tremendous help and has been a huge service to my daughter and to us.
With a parent perspective, it has really opened up the doors to what she's able to do. It gives those extra hands support when she's doing the activities, but also in the home, it helps her when, like, we're eating dinner, I can have somebody with her helping her to make sure food's cut up correctly so she's not stuffing her mouth or choking because she has no filter or understanding that this is how we do things. She will have seizures with her epilepsy, and those will set her back, and she won't understand that she needs to chew. And that's something we just don't think about every second of the day. But when she's eating, to have somebody there monitoring her, it keeps her safe. So as a parent, the waiver has allowed us to function, and I'm not having to be the full-time caregiver all the time. Currently in Virginia, parents can be the paid caregivers, which came in with COVID, but now it's becoming more permanent. And I am allowed to be her caregiver, but we also hire out to give her some flexibility and room. And for me, when I have to work and she needs care, they can come in and help with that. So quick overview of Gracie and what we do, but any questions as far as facilitators, I can jump into that too.
Yeah, I think we have a question here from Emily. What's the difference between Medicaid and Medicare?
I think the short answer is Medicare is based off of income, and it's tiered based off of your assets, and Medicaid isn't to that extent. I think Medicaid still has some of that. You might have a patient pay, but it's not as limited.
Mm-hmm.
And the Medicaid that we are referring to is specialized to individuals with disabilities. So this is specific Medicaid waivers that are designed for individuals that have disabilities, that have extra needs. So it's going to even cover more than maybe if the individual is already on Medicaid. This is going to cover additional, or maybe they're already on Medicare. It's going to cover additional services that maybe weren't covered before.
Mm-hmm. And you can be dual enrolled with both of them.
Thanks for the question, Emily. Katie, there's one thing I did love that you shared about Gracie's story. As we at Special Olympics are putting more emphasis on physical activity and health and fitness, and using a caregiver to allow her to do, was it karate, to allow her to participate and now get to a red belt, the ability for her to do that and get the right kinds of support she needed in the classes really came from the benefits that she gets from this. And so might not seem overtly like a health or fitness or physical activity related benefit, but when used, it sounds like when used creatively, there are a lot of options.
Yes. Yes. One specific thing, in the summer, they do camps, and I can't be there because I'm working, but her caregiver can go and make sure she's safe during that time and help her along with whatever activity they're doing, but she can participate with her peers because of the waiver.
Sure.
Yeah.
So in case we don't have any other questions from the chat at the moment, but we do have some frequently asked questions. So I think it would be good if we hit on those. And if, again, anyone has any comments or questions, you're welcome to write in the meantime. Oh, oops, hit the wrong one. There we go.
All right. So a question we get asked a lot, which Katie already hit on this one, is can a parent be a paid caretaker? And the answer is yes, that they can for the waivers, for the CCC Plus waiver and the DD waiver. Like Katie said, that came in during COVID, that it became something that was allowed, and it has since been added on, and we think it's moving towards being a more permanent option. But as of right now, yes, parents can be paid caretakers for those waivers. Now, for the EPSDT program, that program does not have that same allowance right now, so parents cannot be that paid caretaker, but they're still consumer directed. So all of the waivers that we help with and the programs are consumer directed, so that gives the parent or the individual with a disability the say in who that caregiver is. So unlike if you were to call in a cleaning service where they're just going to send an employee into your house, with the waivers and the way we facilitate as consumer directed, you get the final say and the hiring and firing power of who that care attendant is. So if Katie decides tomorrow that she needs to move on to someone else to be a different paid caretaker for Gracie, then she as the mom has the right to do that. And so it puts that in the hands of the parents and gives them that ultimate decision-making process. And then the next question I'll let Katie answer, and that is, what are activities of daily living? And so remember, whenever I was presenting, I said that the individual needs to have at least 2 activities of daily living that they need assistance with.
Should have got my list ready. Things like eating, mobility, bathing, dressing, if there's any difficulty or they need any extra hands-on. And what that could look like is helping balance getting in and out of the shower or tub, toileting up and down from the toilet, or even cleaning because they physically can't or they don't know that they're supposed to clean. Mobility, transporting is an individual activity, which also can qualify for some time. But anything that we do in and out, if they need any extra assistance, it's that activity of daily living.
Yes. And Irene, I see that you mentioned that one parent can be the employer of record and the other can be the paid caretaker. And that is true. That is accurate, because you have to have someone be the employer of record that's signing off that that paid caretaker is doing what they say they're doing. Kind of just like that extra person just to say, hey, we are doing what we say we're doing. Now, the next question is there a wait list for both waivers? And so there is a wait list for the DD waiver, but there's not a wait list for the CCC Plus waiver. And Irene, you're right. And EOR cannot be the caretaker, so it's one or the other. That's right. And then the last question
that note, Irene, that's something your service facilitator will help you fill those roles. Who is a good EOR that can manage that? Who's a good backup if you have an emergency and need to call a backup, and they might not be a paid caregiver? And then who is a good caregiver that you can employ, whether it be a parent? My sister did it for a long time, and she worked with physical therapy aspects that Gracie needed. But the service facilitator role should help you walk through all of those positions you need to fill.
That's right. And even like she was saying, that other people outside the household, I have a sister that lives near me, and there was a couple individuals in our area that were looking for a caretaker, and one of our service facilitators reached out, and my sister is a young college student, and so they reached out to her and said, hey, would you be interested in being a paid caretaker for this individual? They just need a couple hours. And so as a college student, she had some time to be flexible flexible, and she was able to hop in and be that paid caretaker for that individual to help out. And so the last question that we had as a frequently asked question was, can we apply for the CCC Plus waiver while on the DD waitlist? And the answer is yes. That question came up a lot in my last presentation that I did with the Special Olympics. And a lot of families did not know that they could qualify for that CCC Plus waiver while they waited. Of course, you can't have both waivers at the same time, but while you're waiting for that DD waiver and you're on that wait list waiting for your slot to open, you can try to apply for the CCC Plus waiver, and we will help you through that process as well.
So I will go back to the last slide as Laura was asking for the phone number again. And then Jasmine had a question if you all wanted to tackle that.
Yeah, let me see. So Jasmine says the waiver is funded through Medicaid and not Medicare, right? Also, does Moms in Motion and At Home Your Way support families with private insurances? And so, two-part question. The waivers are funded through Medicaid. That is right. They are Medicaid waivers. And so they're not Medicare waivers. They're Medicaid waivers. But as Katie mentioned, you can be dual enrolled. And so we will help you with all of the ins and outs of insurance. If that's something that you, want to get specifics on with your family member or yourself, you're welcome to call that number that's on the screen tomorrow, and we can help you through that process of understanding. We have a team that's, specifically understands all of those insurance questions, and so they deal with that a lot more, and they can help with that. And then the other question was, do we support families with private insurance? And unfortunately, our services that we provide are specifically for individuals on the Medicaid waivers and the EPSDT program. So as a service facilitation company, you're welcome to call us and ask questions, and we're happy to answer them if you have a question about waiver services. But unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to provide our services for private insurances because these services are paid for through Medicaid. But as we mentioned, you can have private insurance and qualify for the waiver as your secondary insurance. So you're welcome to call us to see if that's a possibility as well.
And then Irene has a question, which I think is a good one.
Yeah.
I don't know this.
Oh, well, that's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know the exact number, but I know Katie mentioned to me that Gracie is really excited to find out more information about participating. So we were excited whenever Casey reached out because we want to share what a great program the Special Olympics is with all of our clients to make sure that they know that that program is out there for those that would qualify to participate. And so we're happy to share the word.
And as you all shared with caregiving and some of that support, I think that Special Olympics is although somewhat localized, there is an element of travel, driving to and from practices and maybe games and tournaments that aren't necessarily in your backyard. It seems like, especially with caretakers, especially even if it's a parent, that there can just be an added support there to allow Special Olympics participation to be a lot more accessible for
right.
folks, and that can well align in that space.
That's right.
All right. I think that's it, unless anyone else has any questions. Let me see. I will just pop the phone number that they cited. Thank you so much, Anna and Katie, for jumping on. Oh,
Irene.
Oh, wonderful.
That was very kind, very kind. Irene said that they were clients of Moms in Motion for very many years and very happy about the services. And so that was great. Thank you so much. That means a lot.
Yes, it does.
And Emily, are you going?
Summer games.
Great segue, Emily. Yes, Moms in Motion group was actually with us this past year. We'd hope they can come back again. They're usually at least this past year, were at Olympic Town sharing a bit more about what they do. So yes, if you are at Summer Games planning to be in Richmond, then you can see them there.
Yes.
All right. And we do have a question from Laura. We've got some some 11th hour questions coming in.
Yeah.
It's great.
Do I need? So we can help you through the entire process. So Moms in Motion is there to help you even while you're on the wait list or before you get on the wait list. So our services start with that, that first phone call to see what you may qualify for. And then, of course, we do that waiver screening coaching before you even do the screening to get on the waiver wait list or apply for that CCC Plus waiver, which doesn't have a wait list. And so we're happy for you to call us, even if maybe you're on the DD waiver wait list, so that we can see if maybe there's other options for you while you're waiting.
Mm-hmm. And you don't, you can be your own EOR too. If you're the one in need of services, you do not need, they'll help you through who can be what position, like EOR or caregiver or whatever. They'll walk you through all of that. So
yes. Oh, and Charmaine, thank you so much.
Great comment. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you both so very much. If any other comments come in, I'll pop them up. But we just thank you to Katie and to Anna for joining us and for all that you shared. It's so much information packed into 40 minutes, but it's just really incredible and so needed in this community. So we really thank you for taking your evening and being with us, and also for sharing about Gracie. It was really fantastic, and glad we got a little bit of an intro on her and got to meet her through slideshow. And we just really appreciate you sharing and hope to see her out participating rather soon.
Plan on it. We plan on it. But
wonderful.
Thanks for allowing us to share. This was fun.
Great. Well,
thank you, everyone.
So much. Have a great evening, everyone.